Hello, and welcome back to Skep's Unnamed Deck Showcase. Now that my lab report has been submitted, I am free from academic obligations and can continue to brew suboptimal decks in Duel Links. Hot off the new release of the hotly anticipated Soulflare Lightning set containing Orcust, the archetype I've been looking forward to since Braver Victory, I thought I would take the chance to celebrate the release of a deck that isn't just click the yellow button and set Ice Dragon's Prison and Pass by making a mini-series of showcases on this very archetype. I hope you like classical, folks, because it's time for Orcust Armageddon. So here we are with the deck, and since we're actually talking about a new series of cards, I'll take this time to explain the archetype before we go over the card by card. Orcust as an archetype represents the climax in the storyline of the World Legacy Lads. After a harrowing final battle against the Nightmares ended with his sister Ib sacrificing herself to stop Lee, Ningirsu, in a series of incredibly well thought out decisions, decides to replace his dead sister's decaying organs with, well, an actual organ. Not only that, he figured that since his sister sacrificed herself to save the world, it would definitely be the right thing to do to destroy the world himself. And seeing other pieces of audio equipment lying around, decides to really get the band back together and build the Orcusts. After launching his campaign to destroy the world with the power of the world legacies in his possession, Longirsu's airtight plan of upload the mind of my dead and possessed sister into a karaoke machine somehow goes wrong. Lee's spirit possesses the body of Galatea, turning it into the Orcust Nightmare, a card, incidentally, with a very convenient name. With the hope of the world running out before Lee's power, Longirsu, seeing that absolutely nothing went wrong the last time he tried to put the mind of a human into a mechanical body, literally Darth Vader's himself, becoming Dingirsu the Orcust of the Evening Star, completely relinquishing his humanity to become a giant mechanical monstrosity so he can help his old friend Aurum clean up his mess. In the TCG, Orcust is one of the most well-known decks of all time, being metagame relevant for over a year from 2018 to 19. The deck was 1/4 of TOS format, so called because Thunder Dragon, Orcust, Sky Striker, and Salamangreat were the 4 best decks. This format is also called Eternal format for just how long these 4 decks remained at the top of the metagame. It was also one of the most varied decks of all time. Orcust, despite on the surface locking you out of non-dark strategies, has a huge array of splashability with different engines. In the TCG, it was perhaps most famously played with Trickstars and Lunalights, but there are no shortage of strategies to pair it with in Duel Links as well. So finally, here we are with the deck proper, and despite me talking about how splashable as an engine Orcust is, I am playing a more pure variant here today, with only 5 non-engine starters and 2 hand traps. This is Machina Orcust. I don't know if you can really call it Machina because you're only playing 2 copies of it, but I don't have Desperado Barrel Dragon, and funnily enough, this card is very good as an extender. You summon it before you lock yourself into darks, so that's not really a problem. You just have to keep that in mind while you're playing. You can misplay with the deck, obviously, by dark locking yourself before you summon it, but that's literally a skill issue. If you're playing heads up, you're not going to do that. I don't think it's necessarily better than Barrel Dragon, but it does let you do something pretty funny, which I'll explain as we go over it. We're, of course, playing our starter in Scrap Recycler. In high roll hands, you can send Machina Fortress. There are hands where you just like hard open 2 Harp Horror, and Scrap Recycler, you'll Scrap Recycler, sending Machina Fortress, and discard 2 Harp, and then their DD Crow isn't going to do anything to you. Incidentally, we are playing 2 copies of DD Crow. I think DD Crow is necessary this format, but I also do not think it's as good as Lancia. I definitely think you're not crazy for main deck in 2 Lancia. You can Windmill Slam it against Yuto. You can chain it to Miracle Fusion against heroes, and you can stop Swirl Slime, which isn't as important, but it is something. It's a lot more impactful against this deck and PK than DD Crow is, but it misses a couple matchups. But it's important enough that I think you should be siding it if you're playing side deck tournaments. We're playing our Orcust package of 3 Harp Horror, 2 Nightmare, because we don't mind if we draw it because we can discard it with Fortress. It's essentially another starter. 2 Symbol Skeleton. You wouldn't be crazy for cutting this to 1 and playing a second return or playing a 3rd Fortress. I think I'd like a second return if I'm playing 20, all things considered, but I'm also not playing any staples in this 20-card list, so it's not as important because I'm not going to be drawing into the Trinity, for example. We have 1 World Legacy World Wand, another card you can discard for Fortress. This fulfills the entire requirement, so if you have a Fortress in the graveyard and you have a World Wand in your hand, you can reanimate the Fortress that way. We are playing the 1 Babel we are afforded. I remember talking about not even being surprised if we didn't get Babel, but they sort of gave it to us by locking us out of any 2 cards becoming full Orcust combo by not letting us play Mermaid in the same deck as Babel. 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, super mandatory in this format. And 1 orchestrated return as our second Galatea target. Incidentally, you're going to see a couple games that I played with more than 20 cards. That was because I wanted to try drawing into staples, so I put in a second Orchestrated Return, 1 IDP, and 2 Compulse. I think this build is just as fine. I really like this deck. I think it's a lot of fun. I think the Machina Fortress brings a really fun angle to it and helps you go second. And I'll explain that as we go over the extra deck. We're playing 2 Galatea, 2 Ding. I was in a game where I actually wanted the third, but I'm deciding to play Brute Enforcer instead. Because if anyone is on a budget and you only want to run through the box twice, you don't need to pull for a third ultra rare. I just happen to have 3 Galatea. But Brute Enforcer is good. I was in a situation in which I wanted to link off to Dingirsu so I could revive one, and I didn't have a Link 2 to make after I made the second Galatea. So I think another Dark Link 2 is pretty good. And this is just the most generic, just 2 effect monsters. So you can link off 2 Dings, banish Symbol Skeleton, revive Dingirsu, and send another card. 1 Longirsu. I go back and forth between this and Orcustrion because sometimes you return something with Longirsu and you really want to make a Orcustrion so you can deal some damage. But since I'm playing the second Dingirsu, I can just overlay that on top of Longirsu if I haven't summoned Dingirsu yet this turn. 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn, and pretty much every list is playing. It's the best Dark Link payoff that we have access to. Borreload doesn't do anything for this deck, really, and you can't play Bomber Dragon. I actually thought that's why they put Mermaid to 1, to prevent you from doing Bomber Dragon shenanigans, but no, you can't do Babble with Mermaid either. What a shame, but probably for the best. 1 copy of the reason to play Machina Fortress, Big Eye. This is very funny. And it does come up in the mirror match where you take your opponent's Orcust and link it off. I like it a lot. It's probably the best dark payoff. It doesn't do anything going first, but you're not making any rank 7s going first. You're making Galatea with a Symbol Skeleton and Dingirsu Engrave, Babbles face up on your field, and a Machina Fortress if you've opened Machina Fortress as just a way to prevent yourself from dying. It's just sort of an extra blocker. And then, of course, if you're going second, you can make Big Eye before you or after you Dark Lock yourself. You can Machina Fortress pitching Harp, banish Harp for the old Nightmare, overlay for Big Eye, take an opponent's monster by detaching Nightmare, banishing Nightmare, sending World Wand, banishing World Wand, and then summoning either Harp or Nightmare, and then make Galatea. Control of the monster you steal with Big Eye never returns. You just keep the monster you stole from them on the field. I really like this deck. I think Big Eye is a really funny inclusion. I like it a lot. And this deck was super fun to play. Of course, like basically every other Orcust deck, we're playing Switcheroo and 3 Cosmic. I think that's the way to go right now. Let's take you to some replays and see how this deck performs. Game number 1 here, going to be up against Anakiza Inziski stroke Aki Izuyoi on a Rose Dragon deck. This is a deck that I think is pretty funny. It showcases the Orcust combo featuring ye old Machina Fortress because we open 2 Harp Horrors. We're going to send Fortress, discard both of those for Machina Fortress, summon Orcust Nightmare off of Harp Horror, make a copy of Galatea here. Galatea is going to do nothing. We're going to activate Nightmare to banish itself to send World Wand, activate Galatea to shuffle back the Harp and set the Babble. Going to activate World Wand to summon the Nightmare. Then we are going to make Dingirsu, and then we are going to link off Dingirsu and Nightmare for Orcust Automaton. Number 2, we also attached our Banished World Wand to Dingirsu when we summoned it, so now we have that engrave as well. And that is our turn 1 board. We are going to end most often on Galatea plus Babble and either 2 cards in hand or a Fortress on the field. They're going to activate Spell of Roses. How interesting. I really wish they had Rocks Rose in the graveyard because then I could banish it off Didi Crow. What they're going to do is White Rose for Rocks Rose. We're going to Nightmare in response to send Symbol. They're going to add Basil Rose Shoot. We're, of course, going to activate Symbol to revive that Dingirsu. Dingirsu is going to activate, sending that Rocks Rose to the graveyard. They're going to Basil Rose Shoot. We're going to Chain Crow. If they have another in their hand, they have another. But if they did, they would have sent it off the skill, so I'm pretty sure they don't. They're going to set 2 cards and in their turn. We're going to set Orchestrated Return here. We're going to Harp Horror for Symbol Skeleton at the end phase, and very funny, this card can send Orcust from your field. We're going to draw Cosmic Cyclone, banish that Lance. They're going to drop our Fortress. We're going to Orchestrated Return, sending the Symbol Skeleton to chain Galatea, targeting the Harp. Not going to do anything. We're going to draw another Cosmic Cyclone, very funny. They're going to Lance, targeting our Dingirsu. No, Galatea. We're going to link that off for Longirsu, the Orcust Orchestrator. We're going to Dingirsu back the white rose, and then we're going to Longirsu send the blue rose, get in for 17 and 26. Next couple games here are going to be up against Hero, both going first and going second against Hero Alliance. See how we play around and through Super Poly here. We are going to draw our set of cards, and we got Recycler, Nightmare, and DD Crow. We're going to Recycler, sending Harp Horror. We don't have the material to go for a Fortress play here, so we're not going to. This is the bread and butter combo. We've got Galatea, the Orcust Automaton, off of our standard play here. We're going to shuffle back that Harp Horror and set a copy of Babel directly from our deck, as we are wont to. Going to banish Nightmare, sending World Wand. Going to World Wand, targeting that Nightmare. Bring back Nightmare, make Orcust of the Evening Star, and then we are going to attach that World Wand, link both of our Orcusts off for Galatea, activate Babel, set our Cosmic, and pass. They're going to normal summon that hard-drawn Neos. This is part of the reason why I wish I was playing more staples, is because how much better would this be if we had like hard-drawn Ice Dragon's Prison? We're going to chain our Nightmare to the summon. I see they have a delay, and I know they have Super Poly. So I play like they do. I'm not going to use Symbol Skeleton here. I'm going to wait until they try to make any sort of specific play that I can stop with Symbol Skeleton. So they add Polymerization to their hand. See, they would have added Super Poly if they didn't have it, but they did. They're going to make Sunriser. Sunrise is going to activate, grabbing Miracle Fusion. Going to activate that Miracle Fusion and banish the Flare Scarab and the Solid Man. They're going to attack our Galatea. That's the perfect time. We're going to bring Dingirsu back. This is a misplay. I should have put it in attack position. They're going to attack over our Dingirsu. Super Poly. Escarido is not lethal, and as a result, they're going to give up, knowing we can kill them on our next turn. Next game against Heroes here is not going to be a particularly interesting one, but a one I wanted to show off nonetheless, because it features Big Eye. They're going to Hero Alliance, very interesting. We're going to draw Orchestrated Return, Babel, and Cosmic. They're going to normal summon the Neos. They're going to activate Hero Alliance to grab the Super Polymerization from their deck to their hand. Then they're going to set 3 and pass. How fascinating. We're going to Cosmic, targeting that left card. It is not what we want to hit. We draw into another one. We target the middle one, and what do you know? It's Super Poly. We are going to discard some cards. We're going to discard Machina Fortress and Harp Horror for Machina Fortress, banish Harp Horror for the Nightmare, make a copy of Big Eye, just so we don't have to put that Neos in the graveyard. We're going to send World Wand to bring back the Nightmare. We are going to make Galatea, the Orcust Automaton, activate Switcheroo, because we don't need that Babel, because we're going to set it to our field. We add a Harp Horror to our hand, very funny. They're going to let us set Babel because they can't do anything. We're going to make Dingirsu, send that last card to the graveyard thinking it's a Mirror Force, but it is, of course, not Mirror Force because that's limited. We're going to kill him with Neos as punishment for playing a skill deck. All right, last game on ladder here, going to be up against the Gore. Go Onizuka on what else but Goki. We are on a little bit of a win streak here. They're going to activate the main event Goki. This deck pissed me off, and I'll show you why. They're going to activate Reinforcement of the Army, add Twist Cobra to their hand, normal summon Goki Suprex, special summon that Twist Cobra from the hand. They're going to do the standard Goki combo. You know this by now, nothing interesting here. We're just going to let them do it. They're going to just add a bunch of cards to their hand. I'll just speed run to the end. So they've added Rematch to their hand here. Then they activate Rematch, targeting Twist Cobra and Suprex. I don't want them getting Suprex, so I banish it. They activate Feast of the Wild level 5. What the fuck is that? And then they set a card and pass. This is insane. We draw into Cosmic Cyclone off return. They're going to Chalice, targeting their guy. That's totally fine with me. We're going to Recycler. They're going to Master Ogre. That's shields down. Because we have Machina Fortress, we can play through it pretty well. Oh, I don't want this to be fast-forwarded. That's why it's moving so fast. We're going to start our Orcust combo here. Going to target the Nightmare to make Big Eye. I should not have made Big Eye. That was a huge misplay, but I just wanted to because I thought it would be funny. They tribute their big guy off, but that's totally fine. We're going to Symbol Skeleton, bring back Nightmare, make Galatea the Orcust Automaton, shuffle back the World Wand so we can set Babel. We're going to make Dingirsu, send the Rescorpio. We're going to let him get a lot of searches here. I could have probably done a whole lot more to them if I had just not made Big Eye. So we're going to make Galatea because we can't kill him here. We want to set up a ding on their turn because if there's one thing you should know about Goki is that it can't play through one disruption after you've broken its board. They're going to Suprex and make the Jet Ogre. That is the point of interaction. I'm going to let them resolve their Gokis, we're going to shuffle back the Symbol Skeleton so we can send the Symbol Skeleton. This is why it's fine to play 1, is because you can banish Orcust Nightmare, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, Galatea, shuffle back the Symbol Skeleton, and then when the chain resolves, you will send the Symbol Skeleton you just shuffled back. They add Finishing Move. This psychopath was playing 1 copy of Suprex in his deck and 1 from the skill, and he hard drew it in over 20 cards. I can't stand ladder, man. I can't do it. But that's fine. They're going to Octo Stretch, add that to their hand, and now they lose the game. We're going to Symbol Skeleton, targeting Dingirsu, send the Jet Ogre, and that's the end of the game. Last game of the set here, you know we couldn't go a episode about the new hotness without showing off a mirror match. This is going to be against friend of the show Swamp on a really cool build of Orcust that I will be showcasing later in this series. So we're going to go first and draw jack shit. That's the other thing about Orcust is, like every good deck, it bricks. They're going to send Harpour. We're going to DD Crow targeting it. They're going to discard for Defrag Dragon, summon it, and make Leviair the Sea Dragon. How cool is that? This is another reason why I think DD Crow is not as good this format, is because Orcust can play Leviair. So now they are fully off to the races and we are dead. I should have scooped here, but I wanted to show you all how this worked. Standard Orcust combo after making Leviair. People were talking about playing the Tricky. I think if you're playing the Tricky in your deck, you should be checking out Defrag Dragon instead. This is a very impressive play here. They're going to target 2 cards and set them back to the deck so they can send my monster. They're going to shuffle back and set Babel. And now I can Cosmic Cyclone it and they don't have it anymore. What a great play. They're going to make Dingirsu so they can attack with both their monsters, and we are just completely dead. But what a sick build, man. So we're back with the deck, and this is what I've been wanting to play in Duel Links for a long time now. Since Metal Foes, there hasn't really been a deck that scratched my itch for a combo-like playstyle that actually, through its own engine, ends on interruption for your opponent's turns. Sulpha Chord is interesting, but you're basically just using the field spell to draw into Book of Moon or Ice Dragon's Prison, and that's not a Sulpha Chord card. This deck uses its own engine to end on enough interruption that you can win the game with your monsters. It has sufficient grind game, all within an engine small enough to allow you to play supplemental cards like Cosmic Cyclones, DD Crows, and, unfortunately, yes, the Trinity if you want to be that kind of person. I'm super excited to be testing out a ton of more builds of Orcust because, as I've said, there's a ton of different ways you can play it, and it feels great. You're not dictated what ratios of main deck cards you can play by a skill that plays the deck for you, and you aren't winning or losing off the back of hard drawing into your generic staples. This is the deck, man. I'm having a ton of fun with it, and I hope you give it a try as well. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you're not too salty about seeing Orcust running around everywhere, because just like Mech Knight, this is going to be a very splashable engine for the foreseeable future. I'm hoping people are having more fun with it, though, and continue to enjoy tinkering with it, because that's just what I plan to do on this show for the next couple of episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.